Only smart people get up early enough to listen to the Francene Marie Show. So thanks for listening, Smarty Pants.
Oi, Billy! Oscar! Dave! Get up! Francene Marie Show's on!
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. How are you coping with social distancing regarding our coronavirus? What fun, creative things are you doing while you're at home with the kids, away from work, during this coronavirus quarantine? Do you miss entertaining with your friends and family? Do you miss going to work? Well, today we're sharing some great information from Vanessa Vaughn Mathews. She is the founder and chief resilience officer with Flawless. They're a company that keeps us safe, secure, and sure of themselves during times of crisis. Crisis is kind of her thing. She's the first woman in Georgia to obtain a Bachelor's of Arts in Homeland Security and Emergency Management from Savannah State University. And she's joining us this morning to calm us down. Good morning.
Good morning, Francene. How are you?
I am so good. I am so happy that Mark Weber introduced us, because a lot of us don't even know that these types of businesses exist.
Well, here's the thing about Mark Weber. Good people know good people, and that is definitely what they do very, very well. So I'm grateful for the opportunity and glad to share what we do.
You know, my first question was, why was she the first woman in Georgia to obtain a Bachelor's of Arts in Homeland Security and Emergency Management?
Yeah, so let's start there. So Savannah State University is the first historically Black college in the United States, and still the only, that has a dual degree of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So when I went to undergrad, that degree was actually being built, and that was in large part thanks to George W. Bush, who recognized the need after 9/11 and Hurricane Katrina. The federal government needed an enterprise approach to how we managed domestic terrorism, as well as natural disasters like hurricanes, floods, et cetera, that exhausted our resources as a nation.
And you've been rolling ever since. Was your life prior to this as busy as it is now?
Born and raised in Virginia Beach, grew up in Atlanta, and I've always been an athlete. So I'm very much into teams, into working with people, into collaboration. So from that perspective, my life has always been busy. But I never, before this career change and this pivot, no, I've never spent as much time analyzing and thinking about risk. You know, for me, I think every decision is a risk decision. And before global pandemics in 2020 and 2019 and 2020, most of our clients didn't think about it either. You know, and now we're at a place where people are saying, hey, you guys have been telling us this for 5-10 years. Why didn't we listen?
But when you think about a small business, they can run into a crisis as well, whether it's external, internal, cyber criminals. I have a passion for our seniors who are at risk right now for all these scams that are going on for Social Security, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So in this time that we are right now, and everybody's home working from the house, and the kids are there too. So I'm wondering, either we're going to have a lot of babies born from this corona situation.
Corona babies.
Corona baby. I know that's a horrible name, Corona baby. Our kids now who are in school will remember this, like some of the generations remember 9/11 when they had to leave school, right? They'll never forget it. Corona, we had to stay home. This is great. We don't have to get up and get on the school bus. As we're talking about the chaos, how can we bring calm to the chaos? Because we're thinking about our financials right now, our personal economy. How do you stay calm in a crisis like this?
So I think the first part is it's okay. We have to give ourselves room to react and respond and to process. Right? Because there's a lot happening right now. How your day starts and what you think you're going to do at 9 o'clock in the morning changes drastically by 5 o'clock in the evening. There's new information. There's new sources of information. There's new thoughts. And the human mind will start to create and think about things that we haven't thought about before because we haven't seen this before. So I think the first thing is take a step back and acknowledge this is my current situation. This is what I'm dealing with. These are my anxieties. These are my fears. But then I think you have to transition into you cannot operate, or you can, but I highly discourage you from operating in a spirit of fear and lack, because it will take hold of you and it will make you be at a place where you're not thinking clearly, where you're not critically thinking, where you cannot be effective as a leader or to your children or to your parents or to your siblings. And in order for you to get through these next couple of months that we're about to go through, you've got to clear that headspace and get the spirit of fear out of you. So I think you have to first is acknowledge the fear and then get your process for how you get it out.
And that's where our creative juices come into play, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's about surrounding yourself with people who can be a sounding board, people who operate in faith, people who are level-headed. I've been telling my clients, there's two things I'm helping you do. I help to bring calm to chaos. And some of my team members and our clients and our partners, they're on the field playing football, right? I'm scrambling to get the ball. I'm fighting the opponent. I'm in line getting tissue. I'm stressed out about hand sanitizer. I jump when people sneeze and I jump when people cough. I'm concerned about my stock market. My whole savings is out of the window. They're on the field playing football. My job is to bring you to the press box. You got to see the bigger picture.
So right now is a time where people are diffusing, collecting themselves. Would you say that we need to stop watching so much news or change our pattern of what we watch? What you watch is what you become.
Well, I think whatever you put in is going to come out. So, and that's for anything, whether it's news, whether it's music, whether it's what you watch on TV, whether it's good or whether it's bad. I think whatever you put in will come out. You will reap what you sow. Funny you asked the question. I talked to a friend this morning and I said, I don't have the luxury to not watch the news. And I used to not watch the news before coronavirus. Right. But now I don't have that luxury because a lot of our clients need our help because of coronavirus. So I have to know what's going on. I have to look and read the press releases. I have to watch what's coming out from the White House and our federal government and our local and county partners across the United States, because our clients work in multinational organizations. So I don't have that luxury. So for me, what I do is I start my day in workout, I meditate, I pray, and I read. And that gets me centered. And that's my hour of time to Vanessa. I'm not responding to an email. I'm not responding to a text message. My phone is on Do Not Disturb. That's my quality time to myself. Then I get into what is the update from the CDC and the World Health. That's the second step is you need to tune into credible sources. I'm not a person that only watches CNN or only watches Fox News or only watches ABC. I think in this day and age, you have to be educated and look at all sources of credible information and then think ahead from what they're telling you. And that's how you can begin to think critically. And then the third piece of what I do is that's when I get on the phone and then I'm able to help my clients because I've had time to myself. I've had time to strategize and to think. And then secondly, I'm armed with information that they may not have had a chance to look at, to filter through, and then I can help them with that.
Because not only are you doing Asfalis, founder and chief resilience officer, you're on the 21-member board for the Charlotte International Cabinet. But before we hit that point and you answer that, tell our audience what your company is, and it's called Asfalis.
Asfalis is a risk mitigation crisis preparedness professional services company. So typically we would help you identify your risks, plan for contingencies, and solve for crises before risks and crises happen. But we also have a professional services advisory arm where we help to coach you and to help you make those decisions, to help you lead with influence, to help you show up to your leadership team so you can walk in the room confidently. Because let's be honest, no one has dealt with this before. So everybody's a little bit on edge, everybody's really nervous, and everybody's making tough decisions they've never had to in their lifetime. So that's the first thing. As it relates to the Charlotte International Cabinet, in 2018, I was appointed by City Council as one of the 21 members to help advise the mayor and city council on two things. One is foreign direct investment in the city of Charlotte, and then two is the immigrant community. And so what's great is I get to bring my risk management, crisis management background to the international cabinet, because what Charlotte and the region, what we're focused on from an international perspective is how do we make sure that we can continue to support international businesses who want to relocate or bring business to this region, number one. Number two, how do we support those companies that are already here so that they stay here? And then number three, how do we make sure that we are welcoming and that we are supportive to the immigrant population? If we're going to have a hand washing poster, how do we make sure that it is available and it can be processed and comprehended from the multiple types of people that we have throughout the region, and that we take those people into account? And that's kind of that inclusion and diversity lens, in my opinion, right? It's thinking about other people that we may not have considered before.
If you're just now tuning in, we have a new best friend. It's Vanessa Vaughn Mathews. We reached out to Vanessa because as Flawless, her company, she's the founder and chief resilience officer, helps companies become safer, more secure, and sure of themselves. If there was a business to have right now, this is it. You know, because you're able to be our coach and our advisor at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to put you through a scenario. Ring, ring, right? As far as help me. So if I'm a company right now who's not thought about, I guess you can call this a pandemic?
It is a pandemic, and the World Health Organization declared it as a pandemic. So yes, that is absolutely right.
So I call and I say, we've not ever had a plan. We barely got that sexual harassment tape out there so people could take that training. But this is on another level, right? So they're starting from zero, from ground zero. How do you build a business up to be safe, secure, and sure of themselves within that one phone call? I'm putting a lot on you.
So it's funny you say safe, secure, and sure, because that's actually the model that we use. So safe for us is we help you to meet the standard. That's for the companies who probably don't have anything in place. Secure is we help you to bring the capacity and the infrastructure internally to help you truly build some stability. And then sure is where we help you to integrate the concept of business resilience, which is what our model is at Solace. We help you to integrate that concept of resilience so that it's integrated across your entire company. And so that's where, when you get to sure, you're reframing what success looks like. So at that safe level, when that business owner calls, my first conversation with them is, my goal is to help you absorb the impact and bounce back. So it's just like a basketball. If I throw a basketball, it's going to bounce back when it hits the ground. If I throw a flat basketball, it's not going to bounce. It's going to stay there. My question for you as a business owner is, which one do you want your business to be? And I can't answer that question. Only you can. And so once you give me that answer to the question, then that takes me into, well, then here's what the plan is and here's what the strategy is. Because we're already in a crisis, those business owners need a crisis strategy. How are you going to get through the next 5 days? What does that look like? What are you analyzing about your organization, your environment, your customers, and your stakeholders? What are those opportunities and threats that you need to identify within your environment? And then how do we help you to evaluate what your options are and choose the best path forward for where you are now?
And I would assume this is going to take more than an 8-hour work shift, right? So say, for instance, you say, well, I have workers who can't come to work now, right? And they can't literally work from home, like your bus drivers, your bank tellers. They can't work from home. What kind of plans do we have to implement?
Yeah, so from a crisis perspective, there's two things. I'll simplify it. There's two things that we help you do. We help you to create your crisis communications and your crisis management playbook. So a playbook for a business owner is like your basketball coach's playbook. It has all the plays. It has all the strategies. It has what their team is going to do on offense and on defense. That's exactly what you need for your business in a crisis. It has your checklist. It has your communications that you're sending to your leadership team. It has your crisis management team structure. It has your stakeholder plan. So who are all your stakeholders? Who are you going to be communicating to? It has the levels of impact. So how do you know when you move from an incident to an event to an emergency to a crisis to a catastrophe, right? We help you to kind of, again, get in the press box and see the bigger picture. And so those are some of the tools that we help to provide them so that they can keep their head in the game. And no matter if it's coronavirus this year or a cyber attack in August, the playbook is the playbook.
Okay.
So, when you play the game of basketball, you're playing the game of basketball. There are things that don't change. You have a team of 5 on offense and on defense. You have a basketball court. You have referees, you have a scoreboard, you have fans. Those things don't change. That's the same thing as your crisis management playbook. You have to have a structure so that way whatever happens, whatever new risk or whatever new crisis you're facing, you can manage it because you have your playbook.
And in this, keep that same thought, but in this crisis, we've learned that the governors have more power over small businesses than I ever thought.
Yeah. And it's not just small businesses. I mean, we're working with some larger clients and we're having those tough conversations. If you work and you're a frontline employee, to your point, if you're a bus driver, you can't drive a bus and work from home at the same time. Now, that's just not going to work.
Right. Right.
So again, businesses are having to make tough decisions, and those are the things that we're helping them to talk about. So it's, do you want to shut down the operation, or do you want the government to do it for you? Your team a head start and start having those conversations now. Well, what do we do with our workforce? How do we continue to support them? Because to your point, everybody is disrupted. This is just like 9/11. We all know where we were when 9/11 happened. We knew what we were thinking, and we know how that event changed our lives forever. This is the same way. But here's what gives people hope, right? Because I'm all about, one of our clients told us, you push fear, but you also provide me hope at the same time. This will pass. This will pass. And I had a talk with our internal team yesterday. This is a moment for crisis leadership, where you have to be empathetic. You have to operate from a place of abundance. You have to show gratitude. You have to give to people. We have to listen. This is where true leadership comes into play. And what's great about crisis management is your title is insignificant. Everybody can lead. Whether you're on the front line at Publix and Walmart and you're checking out people, that's crisis leadership. Or whether you're the CEO of a company, that's crisis leadership. And so now is the time where we have to really help people, because some people cannot see the bigger picture. They're going to play football and stay on the football field for the next 90 days. And they're going to stress themselves out. They're going to think about things that are never going to happen. That's why we all need, as a community, we have to show those traits of crisis leadership.
A lot of people are staying on the bench right now. They're not moving. They're
waiting. That too.
Yeah. They're waiting on, because I call coronavirus kind of the invisible virus. You can't see it coming. You don't know you got it till you get tested. And where are those tests? Can you tell me? Where are those tests? Where are
That's
the
a great question. So for whatever county that you are in, your county public health department would be able to provide that information to you, and it's going to vary depending on where you are. And that goes back to exactly to your point, right, of having those materials and that information, So if you're a parent, you have children, or you have your own family or elder folks that you're caring for, you need your own fact sheet, right? So what is that county health department in your community? You want to know that number now versus when you actually have to have it. Go ahead and do that research. Where would I go if I have to pull into a testing center? Is there a drive-through option available for me in my community? Those are 3 simple things that you can go ahead and get taken care of now.
Okay. All right. And we can, at least the internet is on, right, Vanessa? Don't take the internet down. This is the worst time, right? We would definitely be in catastrophic mode. The teenagers would not know what to do.
Well, I will tell you what I hope happens through coronavirus. I hope that the people of Charlotte let our construction workers work and get the work done.
Right.
So when we come back, our roads are good. The construction's done. Like, that's something that we can check off the list.
Right. We even got another lane. Look at what we can do if we just stay off the road. I know nature's happy, right? The birds and the deer are just like, yes, finally, they went inside.
You know what? But that's such a great point, because risk is hazard and it's opportunity. And I know for some small business owners, depending on what you do and who you serve, and depending on who you work for, this can seem like the world is about to end for you. But I would encourage you to shift your perspective. Every risk is hazard and opportunity. But that goes back to where we started at. You got to get your head out of the weeds and rise up and start to think about, okay, what's the opportunity? And I'll tell you, Francene, the only reason why I can tell you that is because as a business owner, I've had to hit rock bottom to know what it takes to pull yourself up out of that. When you can't see it, when you can't see what the next day is, when you don't think that there's going to be an opportunity that comes, I've had to be able to work my way through that process. And so that's the only way I'm able to tell you that this too shall pass and you'll get through it. You can change your perspective. If you're a teacher and schools are closing, how can you teach students in India or China or what other part of the world? What is it that you do really well as a teacher that now you can go home and do it yourself? There's an opportunity there, right? So don't just think about it as doom and gloom, oh, I have to stay home. No, take this time to innovate. This is disruptive innovation, right? This is what put Blockbuster out of business. It's not because they were selling bad movies. It's because Netflix innovated before they did.
A mind wasted, that's horrible, right? Get out a clean sheet of paper and come up with all of our talents that we have forgotten that we had, right?
Exactly.
And that might boost our spirits. I'm not even going to say might. It will boost your spirits once you realize how talented you are and how many gifts you have to offer. The only thing, I'll play devil's advocate, the only thing is I'm a social person, right? Are you a social person? I'm social.
I'm an extrovert, man.
Yeah, I want to reach out on the phone and hug you right now, but I can't. So here's the deal. We want to entertain because we're bored. It's not been that long for us to get that bored. I miss my people. What do socialites do? I
think that we will find ways to entertain ourselves, and thank God for social media. We can see that, and there'll be enough videos and memes to support that. I would encourage people, if you're bored, find somebody that you can help. Who's that neighbor that's 80 years old, or that mom with 3 kids that can't go to the grocery store because she's concerned or because she doesn't have the dollars? I think for those people who like other people and who want to help people do well, how can we feed ourselves by helping somebody else?
Ooh, I think
it. Crisis brings out who you really are. One of my business coaches told me, you're not a real CEO until your business goes through a crisis. Because then that's when you start to understand what type of leader you really are. And it goes back to the point I made in the beginning. You have to operate from the spirit of abundance. It's easy to think about yourself when things like this happen, for everybody, for self included, right? It's easy for me to think about me. What I thought about yesterday was I'm in a Toastmasters group, and I said, there's probably 4 or 5 elderly people in that group. So I reached out to one of them, and I said, how are you, and what can I do for you?
Aww.
And even if it's nothing, it's just the fact that I asked, right? And so I think that's what we need as a community, because social media, unfortunately, it has drawn us away from people. So how do we go back and touch people and be supportive of people who can't help themselves?
Right. Exactly. We're going to have to start looking people in their eye, right? Instead of touching them. Give them a nice, warm, fuzzy conversation, even from afar, even on the phone. I know we can't even have, it was 50 people, a gathering of 100 people. Then it was no more than a gathering of 50 people. Then I think we're down to 10 now. We might be down to 5 soon. Yeah, reach out and help somebody. It'll help your heart. Yeah, our guest today is Vanessa Vaughn Mathews, our new best friend. She says a crisis will really show who you really are. And unless you've been through one, can you really give anybody advice? Yeah, I like it. We can go right now. The company is called Asfalis. It is ASFALIS Advisors with an S.com. AsfalisAdvisors.com. Vanessa Vaughn Mathews. Social media. You're on social media too. Which one do you like the best? And I'll let you go.
So our company social media page is at Asfalis Advisors on all channels. And me personally at Vanessa V. Mathews with 1 T on all of our social channels as well.
I might reach back out to you. Do you mind if I do that?
I would love it.
Just to steer us. And don't you have a podcast?
Yes. So I co-own a podcast called Business Resilience Decoded with the Disaster Recovery Journal. And if you would like to follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, go to Business Resilience Decoded, and you'll find us there.
Business Resilience Decoded. You know I'm writing
Absolutely.
it down, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And I want you listening now, to enjoy your day, enjoy your family, make the best of your days at home. I'm your hostess of the mostest, Francene Marie, and I'll meet you back here next weekend, same time, same station. Until we meet, darling, I want you to have a good week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for the Francene Marie Show, where we address issues concerning you and your family. That's all for now. See you next week.
Please do not harm us. We have come to your planet for one thing, the Francene Marie Show. It's the only content we can digest.